Hello, edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. Of course, that is me, Kyle Brenchley, in the house on this Friday. Thank goodness it is Friday, right? TGIF, says Katy Perry. Welcome, guys. It's a beautiful day. It is now officially May. We're 9 days into May. Holy cow. Earlier this week, I guess, on Sunday, it was May the 4th. Which obviously is a huge Star Wars holiday, and then Revenge of the 5th the next day. And because of that, I have gotten back into Andor. I'm not fully caught up. I'm a few episodes behind, but season 2 of Andor has dropped, and I have really enjoyed that so far. So if you've been watching that, keep your spoilers to yourselves, but let me know down below what you guys think about it. Tales of the Underworld is another show that's come out that I need to check out. But we'll get to that. Too many shows, too many things to watch, too many things to do, never enough time. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit down and listen and or watch to Fan Talk. This is a podcast that has been going for almost 3 years now. We did our 100th episode back in March, I believe. So we're continuing on this great tradition of professional fan talk podcasting by your boy K Brench here. So thank you guys for joining. This podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. I am everywhere. You can find it on YouTube as well. I upload on YouTube, but I'm on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, all of those good things. All right, huge announcement specifically for hockey fans, even more specifically for those who live here in Utah. We're going to be talking about the Utah Hockey Club choosing a new name for this upcoming season. We'll cover the NHL playoffs, we'll talk NBA playoffs, and as always, anything else that comes up. So sit back and relax as we jump right in. So crazy timeline. So if you're unfamiliar, and maybe you are, maybe you're new here, maybe you don't know much about hockey, maybe you don't know that the Utah Hockey Club used to be a team called the Arizona Coyotes based down in the Phoenix area. And obviously, I don't ice hockey and Arizona in the same sentence very often. And I think it just wasn't a great match. I think there wasn't a lot of fan support. The franchise never really did that well. And ultimately, the team was sold to the highest bidder here in Utah and became the Utah Hockey Club. They ditched the Coyote nickname. They ditched the color scheme. They created a whole new team image. But of course, it takes time to develop a name, an image, a likeness, to put out merchandise, to put out branding, to put out marketing. You can't just do it overnight. And so it was a pretty quick turnover from Coyotes to Utah Hockey Club. And so they're like, let's just be called the Utah Hockey Club. We'll pick a name for the next season and color schemes and different things like that. So that was this season. The Utah Hockey Club played this entire season. Honestly, very good season. They didn't make the playoffs, but they had a winning record. They had a ton of support from the fans. It was just amazing. This past week, the Utah Hockey Club announced that they would become before I reveal it, and you probably already know, hopefully you already know, I pray that you already know, because we pretty much picked the name. The Utah Hockey Club management was like, hey, we're going to let the fans choose. And last summer they had a big survey. I think there was like 15 or 20 names or something, and like you could vote your top 5 or whatever. And so they whittled it down from 15 down to 5 down to 3. And in the regular season, you could go to games and vote on the top 3. Now the top 3 by the end of it was to stay Utah Hockey Club, Utah Outlaws, and then the Utah Mammoth were the top remaining 3 that fans could vote on. And it was revealed earlier this week that the one that got the most votes, the top voted, the most liked, was it wasn't close. It was largely ahead. It was very clear to Ryan Smith and the rest of the Utah Hockey Club that this mascot was what fans wanted and what they wanted to brand the team as. And of course, that is the Utah Mammoth. Now, personally, I love the name. It wasn't my favorite choice of the original 15 or 20. I'll be honest there, but it was one of the 5 I voted for. It might have been 3rd or 4th, that I voted on there. So I think it's great because there's no other professional, even college mascot that is a mammoth. I mean, you look around the league, not just in the NHL, but in every league, there's no mammoths, right? So it's a very unique mascot. It's a very cool mascot. It's a very applicable mascot, not just because mammoths lived in the Ice Age and it's ice hockey, but mammoths actually used to roam Utah back in the day, before you and I could say hey, right? They roamed modern or ancient day Utah. And there's fossils and bones and a lot of archaeological evidence, a lot of archaeological sites that they found, and there's skeletons of them all around the state. So it's very, very applicable, very cool. I love it. It works with the current color scheme that they were running with the Utah Hockey Club, with the light blue, the black, and the white. Let me show you here. If you haven't seen already, and I'm sure you have, but if for some reason you haven't, here is the logo. So this is the logo that they're going with, Utah Mammoth. It's really cool. You can read up on the breakdown of this logo, but I think it's great. If you notice, the head is like the mountains, the Wasatch Range, which is the exact same as the Utah Jazz new kind of branding. They have the snow-capped mountains, then you have the light blue, the black, and then you have the mammoth. And the tusk comes down and makes a U for Utah. It's pretty cool. And then also, if you notice here, the state of Utah is kind of included in there as well. So I think it's a great look, great branding, great job done by those who designed this logo. I think Utah Mammoth has a good ring to it. It's unique. It's cool. Fans are excited about it. It should be awesome, honestly. I was able to go to one game. I only went to one game just because that's just how it was. But it was awesome. The fans, the stadium's electric. Here's what the sweaters are going to look like. The black one will be the home sweater. So we'll have the Mammoth logo and then the Utah on the sleeves. And then their away sweater will have the kind of the jersey that they used this year with the Utah diagonal. And then they'll have the Mammoth heads on the top. So I think it looks fantastic. I think it's great. I'm real excited to see the upcoming season and what the Utah Mammoth can do. There's a lot of hype around it. Obviously, I'm a Canucks fan. But I definitely am going to support this hometown team as well. As my secondary team. Should be really fun. But that is huge news for the state of Utah. If you're from here, from Utah, and were not able to go to a hockey game this past season, you definitely need to go to one this season. I work near the Delta Center, and people were lining up to get the merchandise. They haven't released the sweater jerseys quite yet, but you can go and order like shirts and hats and sweatshirts and all that jazz. So the hype is real. It's awesome. All right, speaking of hockey, let's continue this momentum on the ice and talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs. I haven't mentioned it in the last couple of weeks. I've been focusing mostly on the NBA and a little bit of the NFL draft, but let's talk Stanley Cup playoffs. And this might be a dilemma that you experience with the NHL playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs, running the same time as the NBA playoffs. Now, personally, I grew up playing basketball. I played from a young child. I still play to this day, not quite competitively, but with different groups and whatnot. But I love basketball, and so basketball has always kind of been higher up for me than hockey. Don't get me wrong, I love hockey, and with Utah Hockey Club becoming the Utah Mammoth, as I explained earlier, there's a lot of hype around it. Love watching hockey, but I never really played it. I never really had that connection from a young age, that nostalgic feel to it. And so it's hard to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs along with the NBA playoffs when they're both running, when there's games every night from both. I've tried to catch a few NHL games here and there, but I've been mostly focusing on NBA. I'll be completely transparent with you. But regardless, there are still some great things that have been happening in the Stanley Cup playoffs so far. As I mentioned, the Utah Hockey Club did not make it, and my Vancouver Canucks also did not make it. So kind of hard to find a team to root for when, my two teams did not quite make it. But I do know a lot of people from Utah are fans of the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And I want to talk about the Golden Knights. Coming in 1 seed in the Western Conference, they took care of the Minnesota Wild in 6 games, and now they're facing the Edmonton Oilers. Now, to paint a picture, last season, the Edmonton Oilers went to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Florida Panthers. And the Edmonton Oilers were kind of favored. They were the top dog. They were the top, wolf on the ice or whatever. But the Panthers ultimately got them in, I think it was 7 games. I think they took it all the way to the end in 7 games. And so the Oilers have kind of, I don't know if I should say a step back, but they're not the top dogs this year, but they're just as good, in my opinion. So they were the 3 seed. They took down the LA Kings in the first round, and now they're facing the Golden Knights. Game 2 happened last night. This is Thursday night, May 8th. Today is Friday, May 9th, in Las Vegas. So they won Game 1 in Las Vegas. Game 2 in Las Vegas, the Oilers win again in overtime to take 2 games on the road against the number 1 seed Golden Knights. Wow, impressive. Watch out, the Oilers are on a collision course, I don't know, with the Panthers again this year. Honestly, it might be the Capitals, it might be the Maple Leafs, if you're asking at my opinion. But it's pretty crazy. I'll show you what the bracket looks like right now. But yeah, as you can see here, Golden Knights, Oilers. The winner gets Stars, Jets. I think that's a fun matchup. I'm kind of rooting for the Jets. The Winnipeg Jets have never made the Stanley Cup Finals. They've never won the Stanley Cup Finals. I mean, they are somewhat relatively of a new franchise. You know, the Atlanta Thrashers coming over to Winnipeg about, I don't know, a little less than 20 years ago. But it'd be fun to see the Jets there. I do think the Oilers are going to get there. Maple Leafs are playing great unless the Panthers can steal 2. They're going to have to steal 1 in Toronto at some point, but win 2 at home ice there in Sunshine, Florida. And then the Capitals. What an amazing season for Alec Ovechkin. Chasing the career all-time goal list, beating out the great, Wayne Gretzky. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive. Ovechkin's still going strong, well into his 40s. And I honestly think it'd be fun to see Hurricanes and Jets. I mean, maybe that's not the most hyped up matchup, but it's like Hurricanes really haven't won that much. The Jets have never really been there. But, I mean, tossing that all aside, I think we're on a collision course for the Oilers and Maple Leafs, maybe the Capitals. Let me know what you guys think down below. And I'm sorry, all you Golden Knights fans. That's too bad. Down 2-0, they're really going to have to win probably both games in Edmonton, honestly, if they want to keep the series alive, because it's hard to come back from down 3. All right, guys, let's switch over to NBA now. It's been a week since I did an episode, so there's a lot to update you on. We're now in the second round. The Nuggets got past the Clippers in 7 games. They're facing off against the Thunder. I'll kind of go through every single series a little more in depth here in just a second, but I'll just give a little brief overview of each one. Timberwolves, Warriors, both of them upsetted their higher seed Pacers, Cavaliers, Knicks, Celtics. So let's start with the Thunder and the Nuggets. The Thunder are the number 1 overall seed in the West. They're this young team led by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and coached by Mike D'Antoni. Young team, really, I think, they lose like 15 games all year or something like that. Like, great record, ran through the regular season like it was church ball, and they're facing off against a very good seasoned Nuggets team led by Nikola Jokic. If Nikola Jokic is on your team, you're going to do well. And that very well in the Clippers series, where ultimately, I mean, they did drop a few games, but ultimately they were the better team. They were able to get out in 7 games. And that was shown in game 1, where they stole the game from the Thunder. Now, of course, this game happened on like Tuesday. So at this point, it's old news because there's been another game that we could talk about. But I want to mention briefly how the Nuggets were able to come back from that. And it was really not what anything the Nuggets did. It was what the Thunder did to kind of shoot themselves in the foot in that game. They were winning. They were up by 3, and then they would foul the Nuggets with under a minute left. So they'd foul them and send them to the free throw line so they couldn't hit a 3 to tie it. They'd have to hit 2 free throws and then still be down by 1. And so they would do that, but no time would come off the clock. They would foul right away. And I think in that strategy, you got to let time come off the clock. You can't just foul right away and let no time come off the clock, because then you're letting them come back in and there's still time on the clock. Ultimately, Aaron Gordon hit the game-winning 3-pointer, and now you're down 1-0. Luckily, the Thunder shook that off and won by, 43 points in game 2. So it should be interesting tonight when they go back to Denver to see how the Thunder play on the road, to see how the Nuggets bounce back from such an embarrassing loss. Should be fun. Okay, the other matchup in the West is the Timberwolves and the Warriors. Now, this one is very interesting because Steph Curry injured his hamstring, I believe, in game 1, which was on, Tuesday night. And so, but the Warriors ended up winning that game and went up 1-0. Timberwolves came back and really punched the Warriors in the face without Steph Curry. They are kind of, I don't want to say lost, but they're definitely not the same team that upsetted the Rockets in 7 games, right? And they won't win this series without Steph Curry. Can they win at least one game back in Golden State? Can they leave Golden State 2-2? And then hopefully Steph Curry can come back, next week and go from there. But this is a fun matchup because the Timberwolves are pretty much the Minnesota Jazz. And, you got Rudy Gobert, you got Mike Conley, you got Alexander Walker, you got Joe Ingles. You got all these guys that used to be on the Utah Jazz are now on the Minnesota Timberwolves. So for that reason, I am kind of rooting for the Timberwolves. I don't know. I don't know if it's the best word, but I would like to see the Timberwolves win. I'll say it that way. I'd like to see them beat the Warriors and even potentially beat the Nuggets or Thunder in the next round and go to the NBA championship. Could be fun. That game 3 is tomorrow night. Going back to Golden State, should be interesting to see. Can the Warriors win? Can Jimmy Butler step up? Can Draymond Green help out? Who's going to be the guy with Steph Curry injured on the sideline? Moving to the East, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they might be cursed. And it might not even be them. It might just be Donovan Mitchell. If you remember, in the 2021 NBA playoffs, the Utah Jazz had earned the number 1 overall seed. They were wiping the Western Conference. No one could stop them. They had Donovan Mitchell. They had Rudy Gobert. Like I said, they had Mike Conley. They had Boban Bogdanovic. They just had a good core team. They had their superstar in Donovan Mitchell, and then they just had good, solid players around him. They're in the number 1 overall seed. And if you remember, the Lakers were not in the playoffs that year. The Golden State Warriors did not make the playoffs that year. Kevin Durant was on the Brooklyn Nets, and they lost in the second round that year. And the Celtics were out. The Philadelphia 76ers were the 1 seed, and they lost to the 5-seeded Hawks. So it's like they were the 7 seed. They were the 2 seed, excuse me. The 76ers were the 2 seed. They lost to the 7-seed Hawks. The door was wide open for the Utah Jazz to not just run through the West, but through an Eastern Conference that frankly spit out a Milwaukee team that really only won because Giannis Antetokounmpo was insane. That was like peak Greek freak that year in 2021. But the Jazz ultimately were upsetted in the second round to the Clippers and did not get there. And it was like, oh my word, Donovan Mitchell is cursed. Because the next year, not the same thing, but similar thing. They did not get out. They did not make it very far. They just couldn't put it together in the playoffs. Now you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. Same thing happened last year, where the Cavaliers could not make it past the conference semifinals. And you're wondering, is Donovan Mitchell cursed? He's made the postseason every single year. 8 years in the league, he's made the postseason 8 years in a row. He's never made it past the conference semifinals. They are the number 1 seed in the East. They lost both games at home to the Indiana Pacers. Now you can say, the Cavaliers are injured. Once they get back to full force, they will have no problem with the Pacers. And you're probably right. I agree with you. That'll probably be the case. Cavaliers might even win this series. Who knows? But down 2-0, and you have to go back to Indiana to play 2 games. Similar to what I was talking about in the NHL with Vegas and Edmonton. I think the Cavaliers, if they want to survive, they need to win both games in Indiana. Because if you only take one, and it's great to take one, but if you only take one, you're down 3-1 now. And at some point, you're going to have to win in Indiana, so why not do it now? So, gosh, I don't know. Donovan Mitchell's been playing his brains out, so I can't say he's got to step up because he's been him. But they just got to finish games. Both times. It came down to the wire, and they lost it. So, it should be a fun series to watch. The last one I want to touch on real quick. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Knicks and Celtics. Knicks. Now I am surprised by this one because I thought the Celtics were the Knicks' big brother. I thought the Knicks were the little brother because the Celtics had swept them in the regular season. The Knicks steal both games in Boston and are up 2-0 heading back to Madison Square Garden. Both on the last play of the game, Mikal Bridges steals the ball, or blocks the ball. Both games. Holy cow. And in both games, the Celtics had double-digit leads. So the Celtics, they don't know why they're losing. The Knicks are filling themselves because they are winning. Spike Lee, Stephen A. Smith, Ben Stiller, all you classic Knicks fans out there are having the time of their lives. They think they're going to win the chip this year. Can Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have something to say about that? That game is tomorrow, Saturday, 1:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on ABC. Go check it out. Thank you guys for hanging in there. The NBA playoffs have been great. The NHL playoffs have been great. If you're not a sports fan and you're listening to this 20 minutes into the video, then wow, amazing. But go check out NBA, go check out NHL. Go get yourself some Utah Mammoth merchandise. And we'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan